Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Welcome, David, to Canada's podcast. Great to have you on. Um, I'd really love you to tell us more about your entrepreneurial journey. You know, why you got into it, because based on what I saw in your background, you didn't have to get into it. Where it is today and where you think it might be going. If you like those kind of things.
Yeah, sure. So I actually started my career as a lawyer. I went to law school here in Montreal at McGill, and when I graduated, I left for England, worked in studied a little bit in England, and worked in the UK, and then I came back. I came back because I wanted to. I was tired of private practice, and I wanted to. I was attracted by mission driven organizations, and for me, there was something attractive about joining the public service actually. So I joined the Department of Justice in the Foreign Affairs portfolio and spent 7 years there. And I left the government not because I think government does a fantastic job. I think there's public servants that are very dedicated and work very hard. But I'm the kind of person, and my journey, as we say, is a journey, I would say, of self-discovery. I've realized over time that I'm the kind of person that wants to see their name on the widget coming out of the widget factory, and so I when I left the government, I went to business school. I was part of actually a couple of startups in the early 2010s in the gaming space, actually here in Montreal, and then I was always also passionate about real estate. So in parallel, I did like some real estate projects. I even tried to raise a real estate fund in 2011, 2012, which was a really bad time to try to raise a real estate. And my wife at the time said, well, that's all nice, but you need to go get yourself a real job. So I joined McKinsey, and spent a couple of years at McKinsey, the consulting firm. Hopefully the star of McKinsey hasn't been tarnished too much by some of the articles I read and some of the books that are published these days, but still a phenomenal organization. Learned a bunch. And then again, the same itch came back to start my own thing. So I actually left the firm and started my own consulting firm, Juniper, still exists today. But a former senior partner at McKinsey gave me a call, and he had been named number 2 at Cirque du Soleil, that was under private equity ownership at the time, TPG. And said, "Hey, you want to come and join the circus?" So it's a little bit hard to say no to joining the Cirque du Soleil when you're in Montreal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fabric.
Exactly. So I joined the Cirque, basically joining the a transformation team, and took the lead on many verticals, I would say, in the organization, including the resident show division, which is Las Vegas and Orlando, and the affiliated businesses. And then when the pandemic hit, well, we all know that Cirque went bankrupt. So I kind of raised my hand as a cost saving and said, let me go do something else. So like everybody else, the first couple of months of the pandemic, I baked some bread at home and homeschooled my kids. But then when everybody realized that this thing was going to stick around and that and activity needed to restart, I started thinking about what is it that I wanted to do, and what's the next chapter going to be? And I always had an entrepreneurial kind of bent. I don't think I was the kind of person that was going to start a tech firm in their garage. I mean, that's not my style, and that's not where I was in my journey as well. But I knew a bunch of folks. I knew a bunch of folks at Diagram, which is the venture builder that sits under Portage, very large fintech fund. And Diagram at the time, they were thinking about they were case they had a thesis around intergenerational wealth transfer. We all know that the largest wealth transfer in human history is going to happen in the next 25 years. And mortality will increase, by roughly 40% in the next 20 to 25 years. And they were thinking, what
I guess I'm part of that statistic, but that's okay.
in our business, that's a fact of life. So I think this is something we must all face, our own mortality. And the thinking was, and they were looking for somebody to launch this with a couple of other co-founders, and I figured, hey, I'm mid 40s. It's probably the last chance that I have to jump into a tech startup like this, and I really fell in love with the mission. Again, I said earlier, I love mission-driven organizations. I think it's very important. Fell in love with the mission of helping grieving families, helping families actually go through the process of estate administration, and decided to take the leap.
That's interesting. That's all very well and good, but how do you survive? How do you get how do you get the money to get these things going? If someone else is thinking, I've got this, like you said, a mission, I really want to do it, but they don't. I mean, is there some underlying thing that says if you do A, B, and C, then the money will come, or is it put your hands in your pockets and just make your own?
I think there's different types of businesses. I think I have a tremendous amount of respect for bootstrap businesses and people that the business from the ground up and grow them. We went the VC route, and so this is from day one a VC backed business, and there's a dance in the VC world. You seed, and then you seed extension, and then you Series A, and then you Series B, and every step of the way, there's certain milestones need to be hit, and we are, we've hit those milestones, and then we've got the funding essentially.
So, I mean, in line with that, I mean, it's a progression. What are your, critical kind of success actions because you are progressing very well, that you do to get from, kickoff to, the raise you just did, which is kind of past VC to market acceptance, basically.
Yeah, So I think the first step is, the first step is develop something. Conceptualize the solution that you're trying to offer to the market and get it out in the market as quickly as possible. I mean, that's I think step number one. Step number two is the idea that you had will most likely be wrong because we're wrong most of the time, and iterate. Essentially, get feedback from the market, iterate. I would say both from a product standpoint, but also from a business model standpoint. I think a lot of people discount the fact that iteration in a startup is both from a product standpoint, but also from a business model standpoint. Like the business model that I had, day one is not the business model that I have today, and it's probably not the business model that I'll have, 5 years from now. So, how do you make money essentially? And so we did that. We went pretty quickly to the market. I mean, we started the company in November 2020, and we're in market by March 2021. And
pretty good. Well done.
Yeah, and the advice that I have for people is like, you should be ashamed of the product you put out in the market because if you're not ashamed of it, that means you waited too long. And so And then the market teaches you things, and the market teaches you what it really wants, and then that process of iteration is ongoing. I would say we're not finished yet. What we've proven up until now is, number one, we've proven that we can serve, we can actually do the work of estate administration and estate planning, which people did not think we were capable of doing 2 years ago. We would go see partners, we would go see banks, we would go see wealth advisors, and we tell them, "Hey, we have a solution for you." And they told us, "You'll never be able to do it. It's too complicated. It's too big, too complicated. It's too complex, too obscure. Too many rules. Too many things that are not scalable." And I would say that 2 years later, what we've proven is, number one, we can do the work. Clients are satisfied, and we can actually sell to an ultimate client. We can sell B2C. We can sell to an end consumer. What we still have yet to demonstrate in the future is that we can actually build new channels that are not B2C channels. I think one of the big trends right now that everybody's seeing in fintech is that B2C is very, very expensive from a cost of acquisition standpoint, and therefore all fintechs, all B2C fintechs are actually trying to build B2B2C business models in order to piggyback on existing channels, and that is the transition that we have yet to do, I would say, or yet to do. We are in the process of doing it. We've announced a couple of big partnerships out there, but we're still in the process, I would say, of transitioning our business from a B2C to a B2B2C model. And the raise in the Series A raise was phenomenal, but it was also based on the fact that we've proven that we can do the work both in Canada and the US. And I think what a lot of Canadian fintechs or Canadian startups in general have had a hard time actually penetrating the U.S. market, and we've actually proven that we can acquire customers in the U.S. and serve customers in the U.S., which is pretty unique. So we're very proud of what we've accomplished, but again, still a lot to do.
Are you weird? Like lots of entrepreneurs have to be wired differently. Do you operate differently than some of the peers you went to school with, you practiced law with, et cetera, et cetera?
I would say that I think there's different types of entrepreneurs. I think there's the and I think we tend to idealize the Elon Musks of the world and some of the other characters. I don't idealize him. Sorry. I didn't say idolize, I idealize. So there's the persona of the eccentric founder out there. I think what when I meet entrepreneurs today, I was at a conference at Fintech Forum past 2 days here in Montreal, organized by Portage, met a bunch of fintech entrepreneurs. Most of them are not. I mean, maybe they're wired a little differently. I mean, I think they perceive a risk in a different way, I would say, than some of my colleagues or some of the people that I used to know. I think they approach the journey a little bit differently. But what I'm seeing is that I was having lunch with Malik from Nesto today. Malik spent 20 years at Cossette, in a big agency, and now is running basically one of the or a fantastically fast growing mortgage business, and so he was capable of doing the switch from big agency to fintech startup. Is he wired differently? Yeah, maybe. But is he a complete outlier? I don't think so. I think everybody can find the way, or there's probably a right time and a right place for everybody to show their entrepreneurial spirit.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself when you were beginning things? What would you do differently?
It's a very, very good question. I'm not sure I would have become a lawyer. I think I come from an immigrant family. My father was Italian. I think there's for a lot of immigrants there's a lot of the decision making that's made around finances and around risk and around entrepreneurship are actually very fear-based. Immigrants have and immigrant parents very often pass on this fear of the future. So if you leave everything and you come to this country and you build something, you've lived having nothing, and what you pass on to your kids is and
I am an immigrant.
Yes, and what you pass on to your kids is I've known having nothing, and therefore you should always think about the fact that there's a tremendous amount of pain in having nothing. And I find that, and if I were to go back to my younger self, I would say, there is no need for that much fear. I mean, the universe does provide in the end. People
really good.
And I think and that would have allowed me, I would say, to make different decisions along the way.
That's really excellent. And same on that kind of theme. We've all had mentors, have mentors. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? The one that you carry around with you, that just doesn't go away. It's always there.
It's funny. I think my father, when I was very, very young, told me something at some point. He said, there's a saying in Italian that's and the saying goes a little bit like, if there is no wind, row.
I like that.
and that is the one quote and the one saying that I kind of carry with me.
That's good. Let's go. It's been pretty deep up to now. Let's get onto some kind of funny ones. Okay. The classic one. Are you a morning or a night person?
I'm a night person.
A night person. Oh, yeah. You're not your typical entrepreneur.
I'm not.
What's the best thing that because you've lived both sides of it? What's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? I don't necessarily mean making the money or whatever, or maybe that is the best thing. I don't know, but I think it's probably more than that.
Yeah, I think there's a tremendous amount of freedom that comes with entrepreneurship, and there's a cost to that freedom, obviously, but there's a tremendous amount of freedom, and it's freedom to build something that that is a little bit in your image, like obviously like you the organization that you're building or whatever it is that you're building and tends to be somewhat of a reflection of who you are. You have the freedom to select your collaborators. You have the freedom to select this, what you do every day, and that's very cool. Like it's your priorities. It's you and if you fail, well, you failed because of you. And so that is something that is very different than being part of a larger organization.
Turning to your business, which you seem pretty excited about, what are you most excited about in the business today?
I'm very excited about the fact that what keeps me going is that we are actually. It's funny because I was at a meeting today in a bank actually, and one of the bank employees came to see us and said, I called you guys actually 2 weeks ago because I lost my dad 6 months ago, and I didn't know you guys existed, but then I saw you and I gave you a call, and I really wish that I'd known about you 6 months ago. So he was too late in the process in order to retain our services. But when a consumer tells you this, when a consumer tells you like I know the pain and I know the pain point that you're answering, and tells you, hey, I really wish I had known about you. It gets me really excited, because it means that we're truly answering a pain point in the market, and there's no doubt about it. And we are making a difference in Canadian and American families, and we're supporting people in need. And I think that's what's the most exciting about this business. I mean, it's that we are answering a true need.
And if you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what would it be, and why? You can pick two words if you want.
I was going to say I'm hard-headed, but I mean, I think the one word would be argumentative, and I think I'm an argumentative person, and I do this, and I challenge a lot. I challenge all the time, and it's actually exhausting. It's exhausting for my family members. It's exhausting for my kids. It's exhausting for my partner. It's exhausting for some of my colleagues. But I think what it brings in terms of value is, and I'm not putting my family in this, but it raises the bar. It raises the bar all the time, and I think that produces, or it's actually conducive to producing great outcomes.
That's really good stuff. Oh golly, we're reaching my time. So
you're reaching your time.
Yes. So, how can listeners get a hold of you? If they listen to these things, and it does happen fairly frequently. So I always like for people to be able to reach you if you've thrown something up.
The best way is LinkedIn. I mean, I LinkedIn is probably the platform where I'm the most present. I'm not a Twitter person, nor am I a Facebook or Instagram person, and therefore LinkedIn is the best way to reach me.
Okay, I mean, thank you very much for coming on Canada's podcast. Been a really interesting one. Okay,
thank you for having me.